Dunn here with the Melissadunn Realty team, and I'm here with Brandon Hern, one of our preferred lenders, and we are going to go over the first video in our Lender 101 series, which is what's the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. Brandon, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you, Melissa?
I'm great. I'm super excited to talk about this with you. So let's jump right into the questions. So what would you, how do you know that you're working with a quality lender? What are some of the telltale signs that we've got a good lender on the phone?
So I was in the military for 10 years, and we used to say be polite, professional, and prepared. Now, if you're in the military, you know the rest of that sentence, but it's the same thing, I think, with lenders. When you call a lender or you reach out to a lender, I highly recommend you call him or her. You need to expect three things. They're polite to you and they show you respect. They're not rushed. They're not hurried. They're willing to listen to you. This is the biggest investment most people make in their entire life. If they don't have 5 to 10 minutes to listen to you, that's a big red flag. The second thing is be professional. If they're using slang, across the board, I don't really have to go into professionalism, but that's super important. The reason why is because they're going to be the ones communicating with the listing agent when you're trying to buy a house. And that listing agent is going to make a decision based on the professionalism of the lender. Right? It's a business-to-business transaction there. And the third thing is be prepared. If you have a lot of questions, first-time home buyers, even if this is your second or third home, so much has changed in the last couple of years, in the last 6 months alone. If that lender is not prepared, if they're not reading industry news and they don't understand current underwriting guidelines, and if they can't address your questions quickly and succinctly, there's a problem there, right? You need a lender that can represent you in all three categories, communicate your needs, your strength of your loan to the seller so that you can win those deals and get the house you want.
Awesome. Very good answer. Okay. And number two, so what's covered whenever someone calls you and they're getting a pre-qualification or a pre-approval, what's covered in your pre-approval process and your loan consultation?
Okay. So almost everyone's familiar with the term pre-approval. Pre-approval means I go online usually, or I have a 5-minute phone conversation and I provide some information. Hey, I make X. This is how much I have in my savings account. This is how much I want. And they look at your credit report. And generally, the automated computer programs say, oh, congratulations, you're pre-approved at 400,000 or whatever that number is, right? As you can imagine, that's really not worth the paper it's printed on. Mm-hmm. Did they do any work there? Is there anything at all? And listing agents, professional listing agents, they are not going to take a pre-approval seriously because they know no work was done. So between a pre-approval and a full approval is what is in the middle. There is a loan consultation. So what should happen is after you do something online, after you do a loan application, someone should call you. Say, hey, Melissa, I just saw you completed a loan application. How you doing? Looking to buy a house, get to know you, and then start asking more questions. How do you get paid? Tell me about your savings account. How long has that money been in there? They should be asking you a lot of questions. It should feel almost like a physical at the doctor, except kind of in the financial space, right? It can be pretty intrusive sometimes. People don't like it, but as a lender, they need to know that because they're representing you in the purchase. And then the full loan approval is the next step. It's where the lender says, okay, you've answered all my questions. Now I need to look at your tax returns and your bank statements and your pay stubs. And once I've looked at them and I've checked those boxes, now I can call the seller on your behalf and say, Melissa is fully approved. I have all of her documents. We can close the loan in less than 30 days with no problems. We're done with it all. I have everything I need. And that's really, really important because in that loan consultation, through that process of talking about those things, that lender is going to provide you everything you need to know. This is what the terms look like right now. These are the loan options you may or may not have. This is what a monthly payment looks like, a down payment, how much cash you're going to need, the general process, the 5 times that you spend money. After that, it takes about an hour. After that hour-long phone conversation, the whole process, the clarity is provided and everything, you're going to understand it all. It's very important.
And from a realtor side, whenever we have a full approval from a lender like Brandon versus whenever I'm working with like a quick and pre-approval, I'm able to give my buyers a lot of advantages in a multiple offer situation that don't cost you any money. And it's simply because you and the lender have put in so much legwork in the beginning so that you are truly a solid buyer. And I think that, especially getting the phone call from you, anytime I submit an offer with you, I always just tell the listing agent, we literally just need an appraisal and an address and we're done. And I think that gives them a lot of peace of mind and it makes the process so much easier for the buyer too, because, you hear people all the time that, I hear that their last buying process was difficult because at the last minute, they're like scrambling to get all these documents. And I think that's because a lot of the legwork wasn't done in the beginning by the lender. And so Brandon and lenders like Brandon, they take a lot of time to gather all that information in the beginning so that you don't waste your time and your money, because remember, you're putting earnest money down. And, it's something that they provide free, the loan consultation, to make sure that you're actually, truly qualified to buy that home. So,
Melissa, really quick, it's actually not just earnest money. It's earnest, option, $500 for an inspection, $500 for an appraisal. I mean, you're $1,000 in on sunk cost. And if that lender calls back and says, oh, can I get your tax return? And on the last page of the tax return, there was a credit that you took or a write-off that you took that you didn't really think about because no one told you about it, and now you're not qualified.
Sucks.
That's a problem.
Yeah. Big problem. Good point. So how do you help us determine which loan program is right for the buyer? So how, during your loan consult, what things do you take into consideration on what loan program is best for them?
So quick qualification on loan programs, they change all the time. And not only do they change how they work, but they change how they're marketed. So one program that I may market right now is a first-time home buyer loan, maybe was marketed different 6 months ago. But on the back end, all loans are very similar. And how do we decide what loan is best for you? It's a combination of what you want. And I'll give you a really basic example. There's a loan product where your interest rate will be slightly higher than the other, but your monthly payment's less. You're like, how is that possible? Because on this other one where the rate's lower, the mortgage insurance is higher, so the monthly payment's higher. So when you're looking and comparing these loan options, sometimes the lowest rate isn't always the best for the client. Sometimes that lower monthly payment is more valuable to them. So if the lender's not asking you questions, hey, what's more important to you? What do you and your family want out of this home? Are you guys really concerned about your monthly payment? Or are you interested in putting a larger investment, a larger down payment up front to reduce the interest that you pay with a loan? What are your goals? What are your financial goals? If they're not asking those questions to understand, it's really hard for me to tell you what the best loan is. Because there's a whole bunch of types of loans across the board. Now, 98% of the loans are going to be in one of four categories, but then there's dozens more loans outside of those categories. So I hate beating around the bush, but a loan consultation is so important for people to schedule time in their day, talk about it, and understand why you're doing what type of loan you're doing.
Yeah. It's like ordering off of a menu. That's how I kind of explain to people, like there's like 15 different types of burgers and you have to figure out which burger is the right one for you. And I think that's where, you come in and you really guide people and give them information on the pros and cons of each program and let them decide. So answer. Okay, so last question for this video. How can a lender help a buyer beat in multiple offers?
So multiple offers, from my experience, is kind of become commonplace in North Texas. There are more people moving here than there are homes available. So first and foremost, a full approval is 100% necessary to win that. If you try to go to a lot of open houses nowadays, or a lot of houses that are listed, the listing agents will call ahead of time before you even go see it. They'll ask for that approval letter because of health concerns. Mm-hmm. Their mindset is they don't want someone coming in the house unless they're not able to buy it, right? That makes sense. And it becomes even more strict the more offers they get. So when they have 20 offers on a house and everyone wants it, they can pick the cream of the crop. Mm-hmm. So what do you need from your lender? You need your lender to issue a full approval letter. or commitment letter saying, I have all their documents. I've reviewed all their documents. They've gone through underwriting. They're good to go. We are done with their loan as long as that property appraises. That's so important. Yeah. Another thing right now that's very important is a lot of lenders cannot meet normal timelines due to the huge volume of refinances, not just internally, but some of their partners, the appraisers, are struggling to meet normal appraisal timelines because of all the volume of appraisals of the loans that are happening. So with all that in consideration, if that lender doesn't have a good internal company system and process, if they don't have good appraisers on their panel, that listing agent is not going to trust them, even if it is a full appraisal. So when I call that listing agent, I let them know, hey, I have all the documents, they're fully approved. Our appraisers are still turning things around in less than 10 days. We can still close loans in 20 days. And lastly, right now, there's a lot of loans that are falling out of the pipeline. A lot of deals falling apart because of COVID-19 restrictions. Mm-hmm. It's affecting everyone in so many ways. And in the lending world, that happens with forbearance, with reduction of income, with reduction of hours. And so I always tell the listing agent, I've already verified with their HR department that their income is secure. And that's a huge relief because now that listing agent knows, hey, this is not going to fall apart at the last minute. So having that conversation, and I also let the listing agent know I've done a full loan consultation with my client. I've gone over everything that they need to do and what they should not do. They're fully educated. And when the listing agent knows that client's a fully educated client and they're not going to go buy a car in the middle of the transaction, again, that's more confidence. And I see it all the time where my clients win deals, maybe they're $5,000 less than the highest offer, but they still win because it's better to have one in the hand than two in the bush.
Right. It's a more sure thing. Yep. Well, awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for giving us your time today, and we will catch you on our next video. Okay.